J.Ullrich of the A.Merckx team. He's been one of the aggressive riders like Jackie Durand, and it wasn't long before one or two riders went after him. And at the first sprint back in Grenoble, where we finished yesterday, actually, the riders went back that way and through Grenoble before they climb up the Col de Port. Roscioli got that sprint, and sadly for him, he was off the back when three other riders got up to him, stuck with him for a while, and then dropped him. Stefan Hulot was the first one over the Col de Port in company with Aldag and Teteriuk. Interesting to see for the first time in living memory, I think, the Mercatoni Uno squad ruling the roost in the peloton, protecting their leader. There's confirmation of Hulot's win at the top of the Col de Port. A very fast downhill, and the three managed to stay clear, and as they went up the second col, the Col de Coucheron, it was Hulot again, this time Teteriuk though taking second place from Rolf Aldag, who's a big lad, finding it quite hard there to stay with Hulot and Teteriuk. Meantime, they'd established a lead of some 3 minutes or more, and that 3 was to go up to 4 by the next climb. They're now, as we see them here, on the Col de Granier. This time, they were about 4 minutes ahead, and that lead was still growing. Back in the peloton, a shot of Pantani there, right on the wheel of his teammates. B.Julich, the American, not far behind him, of course, starting the day in second place on general classification behind Pantani. Meanwhile, the leaders were now up towards 4 minutes and a bit clear of the peloton as they went over the top of the Col de Granier. Hulot again getting King of the Mountains points, just nicking that one from Teteriuk, with Aldag again happy to hang on in third place. Several tricky bends here, and Teteriuk really came a perler on that one. He missed that one, he misread it completely, fortunately unhurt, but it meant a long chase for him. He did eventually get back on, and it really was a long chase before the little Russian got back on. I should say Kazakhstani, let's get it right, from the former Soviet Empire, that is. The Kazakhstani had a big chase, but there you see they're now all back together again. This was the Col de Grand Coucheron, where Hulot was again first over the top. He was having a pretty good day, Stefan Hulot. He started the day in 23rd place, just 16 minutes down, and the gap was now over 5 minutes between these three leaders and the main peloton. Hulot beating Teteriuk and Aldag on that one. And there's confirmation of the Grand Coucheron. So the three making hay whilst the sun did indeed shine. We'll take a short break, but we'll be back. Don't go away.
Behind this group here, you can see still Riis, Massey, and just up in front of them is the yellow jersey of Pantani, led by his Mercatoni team. There he is now, romping round this very stiff climb indeed. The trouble is happening at the back. We've got distance now off the back of the pack. Chanteur, Hamburger, previous yellow jersey has been dropped off. Nicolas Jalla, Lely, Berzam, and also now Luc Leblanc has drifted off the back together with Borghese. And yes, now another disappointment too. Laurent Jalabert has been dropped on the climb. 15 kilometers to go, so Jalabert dropping off the back. Again, the speed of the Mercatoni Uno, and that man Pantani in particular is doing an enormous damage.
He is, Dave, yes, but he's doing the damage okay, but he's damaging his own team as well. He's lost his second last teammate now, so he only has one teammate with him, and around him he's got loads of men ready to prance on him if something goes wrong, like B.Julich, he has Renero, Mayer, Ullrich, who else is there anyway?
Boogerd is
there as well, yeah, they're all there.
F.Escartin is hovering in there too.
As well, yeah. And like, it looks very like as if Pantani's going to let this guy ride in the front now as far as he can. And when I reckon when he sees the speed starting to drop a little bit because of himself tiring, Pantani will go himself.
But looking and moving up to the front, we've got Cofidis on right-hand side of the screen, Cofidis on left-hand side of the screen. In fact, if we chucked a blanket over the top 6, I think you'd pick up 3 Cofidis riders in that effort, because still only one man from M.Pantani. But right now, J.Ullrich is looking good at the moment. He's just right behind Pantani in the yellow. This group of specialist climbers, they've dropped LeBlanc, who started this morning 8th overall at 8 minutes and 1 second. So there could be a bit of a shift here, because the Cofidis rider Roland Mayer from Switzerland was just some 56 seconds behind LeBlanc this morning. So we could find Mayer moving up. They've got 3 men in the top 10 this morning on general classification. J.Ullrich was 2nd overall, Renaro 5th overall, Mayer was 9th overall. And just behind them, we have the rest of the team. We're only too pleased to have as the attack's coming.
Mayer.
Yes, we thought it would be Mayer now on their way.
Mayer and Pippoli. So now Pantani is there in 3rd position.
You sound a bit perplexed, Stephen.
Well, I just hope Pantani, I would say in the situation that Pantani's got himself into, my best tactic would have been to attack straight away and go on the offensive, because what he's doing now is that they're isolating himself. He has no teammates left, bar one, if he is able to stay in the pack for the minute. He's got 4 Cofidis riders around him. He's got at least 2 Telecom riders around him. He has F.Escartin around him. He's got Boogerd beside him also. There's an awful lot of kind of very greedy people in there waiting to jump on him if something goes wrong. So I think if I was in Pantani's shoes now, I'd be more inclined to attack before they attack me.
Well, we still know that Hulo is hanging on for grim death out, trying to get the prize at the top of the climb here today. There's good money to be won for as far as he's concerned. The gap now is just over 3 minutes to Hulo. They're climbing up with Mayer of Cofidis, putting the pressure on. Looking good at the moment. Per Pilly behind him.
Yeah, definitely looking very well. Mayer, all right. We've never seen him climbing so good. I've never seen him riding so well in a major stage race.
Well, only 45 seconds now between Ulo and Aldag and Tate. Looks like they're coming back to him, they said.
No,
unless I misheard it.
I thought it was actually Aldag and Teteru 45 seconds ahead of
the
B.Riis.
peloton. Yes, I thought it was here, but they then had Hurlo. I couldn't think that's so, because I think that they must be sweeping up Aldag and Tate. I'm sure that's going to happen. Look at Ullrich going back, looking down. Is he going to have a go? He's going now, and Ullrich's just got a crowd. Pantani has to respond as Ullrich starts to try and give some back that he lost yesterday. He's saying, if you want to keep that yellow jersey, you've got to follow me, and off he goes as Ullrich now ripping away, and Pantani's after him. Exactly what you said, though, Stephen. He didn't attack Pantani, left himself open, and Ullrich has given him the old 1-2.
Yeah.
Well, passing all the signs for Serrada on the side of the road, but he's now gone out of the race, Serrada. We've lost about 5 men so far in this race, which has been absolutely full of drama in the last 15 days. This is day 16, and we're watching last year's yellow jersey. Ullrich now battling with this year's yellow jersey, Pantani.
David, I don't know if Pantani is that good today now, because Pantani being a climber, climbers always go zoop across. You saw how long it took him to get onto Ullrich's wheel there. Like, I just wonder, is he himself not suffering from the effort he did yesterday? Look at the gap here, Dave.
Well, that's ripped the whole race to pieces at the moment. It was Ullrich that did the damage. He's showing in much better form today, Ullrich, than yesterday. He was very affected by the cold, by the rain, and by the way the race went yesterday. But still, Ulo on the front. We're going back up to our leader, trying to hang on to the top of the climb to get himself some more cash and for more points. The Kingdom Managed competition. Ulo's been a wonderful race today, but the interest really centred on that attack of Ullrich that's taken him clear of Pantani. Pantani's now closed the gap as we watch again to see how he went. And he justly did so. Pantani was taking a drink. That couldn't even be worse for him, eh?
Yeah. Maybe that's why Pantani was so long getting across to him, because he had to put his bottle back in the cage, change gear, and then go.
Now, of course, what doesn't happen in this day and age, Steve, I remember many years ago when we used to race with the gear levers down on the down tube. As soon as you saw a man go down there to change gear, you were already in the gear and you attacked him, because by the time he found a gear, you were about 10 yards down the road. But he took off then, Ullrich, because Pantani was taking a drink, whether either by accident or by design. It certainly slowed Pantani to take. Pantani's got there, Pierpoli's there, and this is F.Escartin trying to come up to him. Still, Ullrich is persisting to try and damage the yellow jersey and perhaps try and pinch back a bit of time and and maybe do the same thing again tomorrow. This race is not over yet at all. Pierpoli for the Psycho team, hanging on just behind, a little bit distance from Pantani, who's now hovering and just following Ullrich. Would you just follow, Stephen, or would you attack?
Well, I'll tell you, Dave, the way Ullrich is riding there now, I'd be quite happy to sit on the wheel because attacking him might leave his head even more open. But I don't know if Pantani now will be... I would have thought he would have attacked earlier on, Pantani, and he hasn't. So I wonder, has he got the legs that he would like to have? And I wonder, will he let Ullrich dictate the pace to him all the way up, or will he maybe try and just kind of try and attack Ullrich at some stage in the climb, or will he be happy to kind of stay there and ride to the top?
Well, Ullrich this morning started out on general classification in 4th spot, 5 minutes 56 seconds down. F.Escartin, who's tried to go with him, was 3rd overall at 4 minutes and 14 seconds down. So Ullrich's got a lot to go, a distance to make up. He's going to try and leapfrog over F.Escartin into a podium position. F.Escartin spotted that move and is now sticking on behind there. But the Cofidis team, 3 of them here, are working well, but they don't seem to have the legs to do anything about it to catch back those two who have just taken off and gone down the road. M.Boogerd starting to move up too, alongside Jean-Cyril Aubin of the US Postal team, as the Cofidis trio here trying to pull back our 2 leaders. So J.Ullrich on the front with Pantani behind, getting towards the top of this 2,000-metre Col de la Madeleine. Still down the road, Stefan Hulot is trying to get the points at the top of the climb. We also know that Tateruk and Oldegg are wedged in between, but the battle raging here as Ullrich is desperately trying to do some damage to Pantani. He hasn't done it so far, but this is a real ding-dong, eh?
It is, Dave. There's still some 10k to go to the top, Dave, so a lot can happen there, and this speed that Ullrich is pumping out at the moment, I'm sure must be very difficult for Pantani.
And people don't realise, do they, Stephen? This camera's just watching 2 blokes going along a road which seems to tip over just how steep this climb is. It's an all-category climb, eh?
Well, anyone that's interested in the gears, for example, Pantani and Ullrich there will be riding about a 41, say 41, 21, 22, or a 39, 39, 20. 2021 even, I'd say, yeah.
As they go around these bends, you could just about get some impression of the steepness of the climb. I hope that at some point the camera may hover back and have a good look at the mountain as it goes up. But really, it is a tough old climb, this one, constantly going up and up and up. And the sort of climb which I think might suit Ullrich more than Pantani, who seems to like him a bit steeper and a bit shorter. But he's hanging on now. And a lovely style. I like Pantani's style. It reminds me a bit of Fausto Coppi with the elbows tucked in almost down to the knees, whereas Ullrich is a bit more stretched out, isn't he? Pantani's got an entirely different style.
He has very lovely pedaling style as well. The legs, the feet, the heels go down. It's very lovely, very nice pedaling style.
And they're way down the road. Look what's happened now to the rest of the field. So the Cofidis team have now been dealt a bit of a death blow there, because with Ullrich taking off and taking Pantani with them, the chance of B.Julich, who wears 135 on his back riding for Cofidis, of cutting back the deficit on Marco Pantani has gone out the window. So he's losing on time, isn't he?
Yeah.
Mind you, he's got 3 men with him on the descent at least. Do you think that they're saying, OK, let him go and bust a gut with Ullrich and we'll ride him down on the descent and into the finish? But it's a long way down to finish, isn't it?
It is, yes, but they're going to have to ride very hard, because like Ullrich now in the front is going toward the 2nd place on GC. These guys are trying to go back and get it back off him again, so we're going to have some interesting racing between now and the finish.
And before we go any further with the action, let's just take a little look at the 7th holder of this year's leader's jersey, the little Italian from the Mercatoni Uno team, Marco Pantani. His win at Les Deux Alpes yesterday put him in yellow for the first time in his career, which has already seen him gain podium places in the Giro, the Tour de France twice, and the World Championship. But they surely were just a prelude to the best win of his career in June of this year, the Tour of Italy. He's only a little fella. He's about 5'6", just over 9 stone, but it was very obvious quite early on in his career that he was going to be a natural climber. It wasn't always so easy though. A crash in the Giro, once believed to be caused by a cat, denied him a good place. And of course there was that tremendously serious crash that he had in 1995, towards the back end of 1995, which saw him miss all of 1996. He's a happy man in the peloton, always has a smile for his fellow racers, can even be a little bit of a joker. There we see him in the green jersey, which is not the points jersey, but that's a Giro d'Italia Mountains jersey, and that, as I'm sure you don't need me to tell you really, is a Giro d'Italia pink jersey. Well, those were some of his earlier days. One of his heroes was Fausto Coppi, of course, but he had a long way to go to emulate him, of course. There were falls, as you know, a masseur is essential, but after that very serious crash, after he was hit by a car in a race in Italy, it looked for a while as if it was going to be the end of his career. 1996 was a year that was totally lost, and the possibility of emulating Fausto Coppi seemed a long, long way off. But there was a burning desire within this young man to try to do just that. And that, in those dark days of late 95 and 96, is what kept him going. He came up against his old rival Pavel Tonkov in the Tour of Italy after making a spectacular comeback in the 97 Tour de France when he won 2 stages, and he found himself in the pink. Tonkov was the favourite, a former winner of the Tour of Italy, but this man had other ideas. And although he didn't win the time trial, he came 3rd in fact, that was enough to see him finish on the top spot at the end of the Giro d'Italia. He had finally made it. He'd won his country's national tour. He crowned that achievement yesterday by winning his 2nd Tour de France stage of this 1998 season. He'd already won up at the top of Plateau de Bay, and he repeated the dose at Les Deux Alpes to don another leader's jersey, this time, for the very first time, the yellow jersey of overall race leadership in the Tour de France. We asked him what else he had up his sleeve as he prepared for today's stage in Albertville. He said, well, only time will tell. Today's a fairly short stage. He couldn't possibly have really meant that, because it's 204 kilometres. I wouldn't call that short. But he said, well, it includes this long, long climb up to the top of the Col de la Madeleine. As well as being a long climb, it's a very hard climb. And then, after you reach the top, you've still got another 45 kilometres to go to the finish. Really, we'll have to see what the conditions are like. Yesterday, conditions were really terrible, and I really don't want another day like yesterday, weather-wise, even though it finished well for me. I'm very satisfied at this point. After all, I have won 2 stages, and I've nearly won a 3rd one as well. So I have to be pleased with the way things are going for me. I've got the leader's jersey. You cannot imagine how thrilled I am to have got the leader's jersey and got 2 stage victories. Yesterday, I had the courage to attack uphill and downhill. I think, to be very honest, it was a victory I deserved. I fought very hard for it. Well, only time will tell whether his deeds are appreciated by the rest of the peloton, but already the spectacular comeback of the rider known as the Pirate shows that he has the heart of a lion. Well, back to the action, and we're up on the Col de la Madeleine, and just a reminder before we go back to David and Stephen, the 2 leaders, Ullrich and Pantani, were right out there on their own now, with Pantani just content to sit on the back of the German, letting Ullrich take all the pace up to the top. Still, over 55 kilometres to go to the finish in Albertville, still 10 to the top of this climb.
Well, the Coventry team are beginning to struggle now, and the gap is opening up all the time, and we understand that J.Ullrich is back some 2 minutes back behind this lot, as Raniero has begun to struggle. He's 5th overall this morning at 6 minutes and 12 seconds. He's now paying for his brilliant performance yesterday, and when he finished 4th overall, but he did a lot of work on his own yesterday. You now see him begin to struggle. He's got to hang on in there, because just going off down the road, M.Boogerd, who started this morning only 4 seconds behind him on general classification, is with this little group here, as still out in the distance, Pantani and Ullrich rage their own personal war. But we must not forget that Ulo is still trying to win the prize at the top of the mountain today, with Aldag and Tutrek coming backwards all the time.
There's Hefner's there, Riis.
Yeah, and in fact there's another one here too as well.
Yeah.
Yep, they've also got Bolts.
Yeah.
So there's still a number of the telecom team hovering round about their top man here. So when they come down the other side, if he hasn't dislodged Pantani, at least they can get all back together again and maybe have an attack. The trouble is, they see, Stephen, when we come down the other side, they start jumping around and they come back together. Pantani got nobody with him, has he?
Nobody with him at all, Dave. That's why I didn't understand why they were having such a fast tempo on the right all day, even, because it meant that they were automatically eliminating themselves in the climb. That's what made me think that Pantani wasn't even thinking about the Madeleine, other than attacking it from the foot and taking back Ulo and trying to win the stage, and at the same time putting more time into like B.Julich and Ullrich.
Well, this is F.Escartin, who started this morning out in 3rd spot at 4:14 down on Pantani, who's now gone up the road with J.Ullrich, who was 5:56. So 1 minute and 40-odd seconds separates Ullrich from F.Escartin's position as 3rd on the overall classification. B.Julich 3:53 down, and still riding hard here. The Coventry team have got a bit of firepower left at the moment, but really I think they must be ruining the amount of effort they put in yesterday. 2 minutes 40 is Ullrich and Pantani, so there's still over 2 minutes between Ulo and Ullrich and Pantani. And here they are, 2 minutes behind Ulo on the road. So Ulo's in a great ride out there at the moment, isn't he? Because he started this morning, Ulo. Let's see where he was on general classification. He's down. He's 23rd overall, 60 minutes down. So he's not going to improve his position very much, but he's certainly going to collect a few cash in the Kingdom Managed competition.
Well, Ulo is putting in a great ride, I'd say, and of course Ullrich is putting in a fabulous ride as well, taking into consideration what he did yesterday. Like yesterday, blowing all together. But I think also, like, sometimes it happens when you have a bad day one day, from to get hunger and what have you, especially under the conditions, weather conditions yesterday. I think that you often come back strong the following day.
Well, Ulo trying to get to the top of the summit to take the climb of the Col de la Madeleine. He already took the climb over the Col de Port after 37 kilometres. Ulo going away from the main pack, coming in towards the Col de Port. He was just picked up the early escapers at the bottom of it, so Ulo's been away just around about 25 kilometres from the start. He took off. He won the first climb of the day, the Col de Port, ahead of Aldag and Tutrek in that order. By the time we came to the Col de Coucheron, again Ulo was over the top first, Tutrek and Aldag second. By the time we came to the Col de Granier, Ulo was only second, but by the time we did the Col de Grand Coucheron, he'd gone back to first spot. So far, Ulo has been doing rather well in the Kingdom Managed competition, and certainly collecting a few cash as well as the points along the way. But he hasn't got enough in hand, I don't think, to challenge for the polka dot jersey of Mayor, just looking for the cash rewards of being the first over these big climbs. Till then, this is what's left of the main peloton.
Walter Godefroy was on a few minutes ago. Ullrich's team director, just getting a conversation now with Martinelli, Pantani's Red Sportif. Yeah. Ullrich's Red Sportif was saying that yesterday he had a finance, he had a bad day yesterday, but today's on a good day, so anything can happen. Anything can happen. So if all comes to the worst today, he's going for the second place, but because it's very difficult to get rid of Pantani on these kind of conditions, because Pantani only has to watch Ullrich. And then Pantani's at the Sportif, he was saying that Pantani's in a an ideal situation now where he's away with Ullrich, providing nothing happens to him, because he would have hoped to have had one or two teammates with him, or even to be on his own. But the attack of Ullrich caught them a little bit by surprise. They did not know whether he was able to recuperate enough after yesterday's stage, but at the same time, Pantani now is able to match Ullrich's speed. So while it goes on that way, we're happy, he said.
I'm just working out that Ulo so far has got himself something around about 1,000 pounds in the bank, and if he goes like this over the top of this climb, he's still 240 away. He can end up with another 500 quid, so he'll have picked up 1,500 quid for his activities so far. And in fact, second place on that one too, 1,500, probably 1,600 pounds for Ulo's efforts today on the mountain. So a nice little payday as far as he's concerned, but of course the interest that we're concerned in is to see if Pantani and Ullrich are going to have their bags on all the way up here, or just whether Pantani will follow Ullrich and just show him you don't get rid of that easy. But do you think then, Stephen, that going into time trial, the 5 minutes 56 seconds Pantani's got over Ullrich is enough for him to keep the yellow jersey, or is it just a delicate balance still?
To be honest with you, Dave, the final time trial in the Tour is always very difficult to judge, because you must remember they will have done 3 weeks in the saddle. They've done a lot of miles, they've been through all kinds of weather, hot and cold, wet and damp and dry and every kinds of weather, so it's very difficult to say in advance, yes, that will happen, or predict what will happen. But I think myself that Pantani showed in the Tour of Italy he can maintain his form right through and still do a very good time trial at the end. The time trial itself is 52 kilometers. It's very rolly countryside, maybe not as rolly as the last time trial there last week, but at the same time I think that 5 minutes in hand, unless Pantani has a really bad day and Ullrich has a really good day, I think that, well, Pantani's yellow jersey could be safe. But at the same time, Dave, today's stage is not over, and tomorrow's stage is once again very hard. Yep,
we've got some really good racing ahead of us, and I'm loving this Tour de France this year, Stephen, because so often with the dominance of Indurain, and even when Riis took over and then Ullrich took over last year, there were two other men that followed on behind Indurain, that they stamped such a great authority on the race that it was difficult to see that anything would to change after maybe the first 5 or 7 days into the race. But this year the race has been full of drama, full of changes too, and it ain't over yet. The fat lady hasn't started to sing.
Fun. And welcome back to our highlights program. What a fantastic battle out on the heights of the Col de la Madeleine. J.Ullrich and Marco Pantani battling it out for supremacy in this gripping stage from Vizille to Albertville. Meantime, 2.5 minutes behind them now. B.Julich second overall, Fernando F.Escartin third overall, and M.Boogerd sixth overall were in a group that was fighting to stay in this race.
They're catching the two men who broke away coming up towards the top of the Col de Port, way back in some 30-odd kilometres of the race under their belt. They've done 130 kilometres now, and Aldag has dropped back to help Ullrich on the climb. So Aldag, having worked hard all day, 130 kilometres he's done nearly out there with Ulo and Tetruk, and now he's doing a wonderful job for his team leader here now. So Pantani has got a few problems.
Well, maybe not there, because Aldag got dropped because he was very tired. But I say myself, as I was saying earlier on, that Aldag will be able to help Ullrich there for a mile or two, which will give Ullrich a bit of a break and maybe give Pantani a bit of a worry. So, because I'd say that Aldag, as the climb gets to the top again, the road gets steeper again as well. So Aldag will probably ride hard now for a mile or two, then probably blow himself, and Ullrich then will have to take over the lead again. But at the same time, it'll be giving Ullrich a bit of a break as well.
Well, Aldag, what a wonderful man of the match, I suppose. You're going to have to give, or the committee's going to have to give an award to the most competitive and aggressive rider of the day, and I think probably that might go to Ulo. But for a man who's got guts here, a big fellow like Aldag, he's what, nearly 6'2", who's been grovelling his way up all the big climbs so far today. He's now doing a wonderful job, because it wouldn't have been beyond him just to sort of watch Ullrich go through, try to ride a few metres and say, and now I'm stuck. But he's kept something back, and look at the look on Aldag's face. This is a true domestique, isn't it?
It is, Dave. If I was Pantani now, if I had really good legs, what I'd do would be a little attack, just to see how Aldag's legs really are. There we go, Dave. Aldag is pulling over now, finished.
Well, this is the worst part of the bend, isn't it, on the inside? That's the steepest part. He's done his job now, and a brave attempt then to help his team leader.
Look how easy Ullrich looks, Dave. He just looks so cool and so strong on the bike, Dave.
But going back to yesterday when he suddenly blew, this is what bike racing all about, isn't it? You can't expect everybody to race for 21 days and not have a bad day, but it's knowing those bad days. I'm sure 55 seconds now ahead is Ulo, so he's coming back at them now. Stephen, the big thing was, I always thought that Ingenious had a bad day, but nobody else could find it, and nobody else attacked him when they thought he had a bad day. It seems now that we know that it's difficult to have 21 good days, isn't it? But it's finding which is a bad day, eh?
Well, it's actually having a bad day on the flat, it's okay, you don't lose much time, but having a bad day on a day like today, you can use it a lot. And it's all, you know, if the riders can actually sense and feel that Indurain or the Ullrichs are on a bad day, then they can make the most of it. But you're right, Dave, Ullrich is so cool, clean cut on his bike, and so is Indurain. It was very difficult to actually recognise him on a good or a bad day.
Ulo, who's tried manfully to go over the top of the Col de Madeleine and collect 500 quid for the first man over the top of the all category climb now. Looks like he's going to be reeled in by the chasers, Ullrich and Pantani. He's done a bold job today because this top of the climb is 160 kilometres from the start this morning, and he took off round about 30 k's from the start. So he's now done the thick end of 130 kilometres. He's been out over the top of the climbs, first on the first climb of the day, first on the second climb of the day, second on the second climb of the day, and first on the last climb before this one. And now he's been trying hard to get out there to get the victory on this climb, but it looks like he might be reeled in by these two very aggressive riders who have their own fish to fry, because whilst they were happy to get a few bob in the bank going over in first and second spot, they're more interested in the overall classification in Paris when we finish there on Sunday. Great though, isn't it, to watch these two? Really good, because B.Julich, I thought, might have had a go today to try and close the gap on Pantani, because he's also a useful time trialist, but it's Ullrich that's doing the damage now, or trying to do damage to Pantani. There were 55 seconds for Ulo, 2:25 to Julich. Well, Ullrich this morning was just 2 minutes and 3 seconds behind B.Julich, so it looks like Ullrich is going to go up into second spot if they keep this through to the finish. But I don't think that's going to happen with the Cofidis team, which surely will pull Julich back to this duo on the way down.
Well, I'm sure they will try, because you have M.Boogerd in there as well, there, that'll have to ride if he wants to maintain his place in the top 5. So, but then Pantani and Ullrich, they will ride together. Hulo will be there as well. Hulo will also want to ride, so to gain himself a place as well on the stage, but also on the GC if he can hold them going over the top.
Ulo can look down on the hairpin bends to see where the chase group is coming, still hoping there's enough power in his legs just to grovel his way over the top of the climb, but these two are going at an entirely different rhythm, and they'll snap him up before long. Yeah,
looking at Hulo there, Dave, I think he's big man with the hammer is gone. He'll not be able to get onto them at all with the speed they're going. I don't think so anyway. He may have backed off purposely, but somehow I doubt it. Looking at him swinging on the bars, I doubt it. But nevertheless, he has been a very aggressive rider today, and I wonder who the jury today will put down to be the most combative or the most aggressive rider today, because Hulo deserves it, of course, but Aldag did a very good ride as well.
Well, Roscioli started all the action after 2 kilometres of the start this morning. He managed to survive to the first sprint at Grenoble. Then this man Hulo went after him with Aldag and J.Ullrich, and he's been dominant on the climbs ever since. But now he's met two specialists, well, one specialist climber and one gutsy German, who've now swept past him and going up toward the top of this climb, having their own private battle in this, the 1998 Tour de France. Great entertainment for the crowd, isn't it, Stephen? I mean, they'll cheer anything that moves on two wheels up the climb. But look at this German spectator now. He saw his grand champion come out of yellow yesterday, and now he sees him on the front powering up this climb. Must be great for you, your national supporter out there, to hear him coming up. And of course, there's so many Italians too here. We're not far from the Italian border. Again, a massive crowd of Italians too. So these two being cheered on by the supporters all the way along the route of this climb. And when they get to the top of it then, on the way down in towards the finish, it's going to be a big drop down before we get to the flat part. They will be at the top of the climb, 43 kilometres to go from the finish.
Yeah, it's a very fast drop down, Dave, as well, down to the flat, the final 15 flat kilometres at the end. So,
hey, what if Pantani attacks on the flat?
Well, that's what I was going to say, Dave.
You lost your quid, by the way. You said Pantani was going to attack, and he hadn't. He had to respond to Julie. Now, on the way down then...
he was going to attack, Dave, but Ullrich attacked first.
If he attacks on the descent, Pantani, you don't get your pound. Still then the radio crackling out that the 2 men are still in the lead. Oh, well, Toshnik, Casero, Mayer, Rinero and Bolts, they've been dropped off the J.Ullrich group, so that's thinning down as well. Riis is still in there at the moment. Now he's a good descender, so he may be able to get back to Ullrich on the descent. The speed they're going up here, Stephen, it's, you know, they've been climbing all the way 18 kilometres up this climb, and look at the way they're going still.
Now it gets hard, Dave. There's 4K at the top now, but once we get to the village here now, it gets, you're out in the nature, out in the countryside. I remember in the 87 Tour de France we came over this, and there was a sheep, what do you call him, a guy that minds sheep,
Shepherd.
Shepherd, yes.
Yeah, yes. At Christmas time they come out, there are usually a few of them, you know. Yes,
but the Tour de France in 87, the Shepherds had a bit of a strike up here, a go slow, and they blocked all the road to stop the Tour de France coming through. But when the caravan came up here, the cavalcade came up, they stopped all the cavalcade in on the right-hand side.
Peter,
we came through and then finally got through at the end.
Stop there, Stephen. I said how difficult it is to understand the climb. Look at that, eh? And they're there. That's right. That's the 4 kilometres, isn't it? And we've now seen a shot. People back at home, just shows you what these great athletes are doing and how far they've got to go to the top of this terrible climb.
Remember the two leaders, J.Ullrich and M.Pantani. Pantani having taken over the yellow jersey from Ullrich yesterday. Here they've just about got about another 10 minutes or so of climbing to the top of the 6,600-foot Col de la Madeleine. Behind them, roughly 2 minutes behind them, that little chase group including J.Ullrich, F.Escartin, M.Boogerd, A.Merckx and one or two others. These two guys though were really piling on the pressure. They had roughly 48 kilometres though still to do to the finish. There's the latest time check showing in fact that the gap had, if anything, just tightened up a little bit. 1 minute and 3/4. More from David Duffield and Stephen Roach.
These are our two leaders, Ullrich and Pantani. They're going up in the final 4 kilometres of this climb, and behind there's a group at 1 minute and 45 seconds, including J.Ullrich, Piepoli, Riis, Robin, M.Boogerd and F.Escartin. J.Ullrich of the Cofidis team, Piepoli from Psycho, Cannondale, Riis of the Telecom team, Robin of the US Postal team, M.Boogerd of the Rabank team, F.Escartin coming, and A.Merckx. That's very good, the Polti rider. He's actually in that group, 145 down. Stephen, yesterday, A.Merckx finished in 11th spot, 640 down. He's 20th overall. Dad must be very pleased with his performance at the moment. He's there also with what I might call a specialist climber. A.Merckx, he's a very tall lad, isn't he?
He is, yeah, he's very tall. I think Eddie himself actually followed the stage yesterday, and I'm sure he must be very happy with what he's doing. But at the same time, one good thing about Eddie and his son Axel, they basically do what it does. There's no kind of
no pressure.
It's no pressure at all. No, Eddie just lets his son get on. It could be football, it could be whatever it is, but it's this case of cycling. He follows him now and again in a time trial when he has the opportunity. But there's no pressure whatsoever. He does what he does. We all know that nobody will ever. I don't think so anyway. Nobody will ever, not for a long time, equal Eddie Merckx. You can talk about Indurain, you can talk about he knows and everything else. But Merckx will be the best cyclist of all time for his number of victories, the way he rode from January through to October every year. Merckx will always be the biggest rider of all time, I think, anyway. So it'll be very difficult and very not very nice to actually ask his son to do the very same thing.
And there he is in the midst of this little pack, the fellow in the yellowish coloured Polti shirt, riding on his copy bicycle, 1, 2, 3 back from the front, A.Merckx, towering head and shoulders over the rest of it. He's a big, tall, gangling lad, and he's going much better this year than I've seen him go for a long time. He got married sometime in the back end of last year, or early part of this year, so it certainly seems to have done him a lot of good, and he's now riding in that chase pack. I bet Dad's very pleased with that one, just to watch his lad perform. Yes, it's almost impossible to say that anybody, Stephen, in the future could equal Merckx's record. The racing, I'm not saying he raced against inferior riders, but it's so intense today, and also the quality of the riders from top to bottom. As the years go by, it seems to me that there's a lot of top riders, maybe 100 of them, who are closer together than the years gone by when there may be 15 or 20. I'm not in any way demeaning his performances, but I've been looking back at the records of the riders that would finish the tour, how many would start and how many would finish. In the old days, there were often up to 50% wouldn't finish the tour. Now we're getting 25 to 30% are eliminated. So the way in which even the domestiques and the also-rans in inverted commas can actually ride this distance at this speed, and from time to time pop out and get a victory too. The whole game's changed, hasn't it? And I'm not in any way denigrating the great A.Merckx, who, you're right, in terms of victories won and the way he won his victories, he certainly is an all-time great. But he ranks, the trouble is, in each era you get all-time greats, don't you? And Eddie was over a long period of time the greatest, and you go back and look at people, something else, so it's Anquetil, it's Hino, it's Fausto Coppi and so on, but you can't classify them the same, because racing was different, the routes were different, the competition was different, and of course Indurain was great, but he's only great in the Tour de France, wasn't he? And this young man here, they put him in the greatest, but he's been great once he won the Amateur World Championship, only in the Tour de France.
Exactly, like he won the Tour last year, disappeared, and then came back and won the time trial last week here. So of course there's a little bit that's the way the modern generation is, and that's, you got to accept it, like. But A.Merckx, if it doesn't be as good as his father, we won't hold it against him. No. But at still the same time, he's putting in some great rides, he's doing his own little thing in his own little corner, and to be in there today after riding some 14 days in the Tour, to be in there in the second group chasing with some of the best climbers around, knowing that he is so tall and so big and heavy, it's a great achievement for the man himself.
Well, Pantani has been coming past the whole stream of Italian flags. There's so many of them have come here at the moment. Ulo now has been really caught and dropped off the back of these two. He's going back and back and back, poor chap. I don't know if he's been swept up by the chasing group, which we know is behind the one we saw there with A.Merckx in it. Also in that chasing group, B.Julich, P. Riis, Robin, M.Boogerd, F.Escartin, and just savour this. That's just a little bit of the climb they've gone up, you've just seen on television. If you could just go the camera right the way back and hover something like about 10 miles back down the mountain, and you'd see zigzagging up into the skyline, into the snow-covered crags of the Alps up here. You'd see the road winding its way up on this great climb of the Col de la Madeleine. And J.Ullrich's group is now 2 minutes back on Ullrich and Pantani, who really are ripping each other and the race to pieces right now in a man-to-man struggle. This is superb bike racing, brought to you, watching on the afternoon, live on Eurosport. If you're watching the highlights programme tonight, you may know the result, but I'm just keeping my fingers crossed to enjoy the run down the other side, into the finish, as, oh good lord.
An angel.
We're not that far up in the sky, are we?
Well, I hope that some of the boys at the back of the group don't get a fright and think they're in heaven.
I didn't see the chap with the signs chopping away, nor have I seen St. Peter at the gate either, but...
So the devil down below.
The devil's down below, he was,
yeah,
wasn't he? Yes.
Then we have the angels up above, so that's normal procedure, I suppose.
Oh, look at Pantani's the pilot. They've got a special flag out for him too as well. Going past the German flags on the left-hand side. Lots of pink and white shirts for Telecom too. These are the real enthusiasts. They've come out here camping overnight to see the riders come through, and they're being part of a great exposition of cycle racing at its best, when two of the stalwarts of the Tour de France and also the Tour of Italy, don't forget that, don't lose sight of the fact that Pantani's come into this race having won the Tour of Italy. He's already had one leader's jersey on his shoulders. Can he keep the yellow through to Paris? Ullrich wants to really give him a thrashing though.
And back to the exciting action being fought out on the Col de la Madeleine on this, the 16th stage of this year's Tour de France. The two leaders, J.Ullrich and Marco Pantani, were almost up to the top of this 2,000-metre climb, over 2 minutes clear of the chase group. They really were having a great battle out there in the Alps.
Pippoli again putting in an enormous turn on the front here. He's way back in 17th spot, Pippoli. He's got Jean-Charles Robin with him, who was 15th this morning. They've got rid of Balanovsky, Hamburger, Beltran, Casero, Nardello and Mayer and LeBlanc. Massey. There's a whole load of riders ahead of this little group now, who are now dropping further back, so we could see quite a change yet again on the general classification when we get into Albertville, unless of course there's a regroupment on the way down. We don't know if they're going to bury the hatchet and wait for the rest to come up, or whether these two are going to rip into all the way to the finish. What a race that'll be if they go all the way.
Well, I'd say, Dave, there's a good chance that they will go to the finish, but what happens then when it comes to the sprint, Dave? Will Pantani let Ullrich win his stage, as Ullrich might have let J.Ullrich win, say, last year, for example, or as Indurain might have let Capucci win a few years ago?
I don't know. There's something. These two are riding a different sort of race, aren't they? Eh?
Well, it's difficult to understand. Like, Pantani has already won his stages, so he's already won 2 stages. So will he say, okay, let Jan here win the stage and might keep him happy for a bit, or will he take a risk of aggravating him by beating him in a sprint? Because like Pantani is by no means a no sprinter. He's a reasonably good sprinter, and Ullrich himself is a strong, very strong, fast guy as well. So if it came down to a kind of a 1-to-1 sprint, Ullrich would have, I'd say, Pantani could even have the upper hand on Ullrich.
Well, in the final kilometre of the climb to the top of the Col de Madeleine, a very famous mountain has been covered so many times in the past in the Tour de France. First climbed in 1969 when Gandalis won it. We've had people like Van Impe go over twice and take the honours at the top. For around 3 times he's been over the top of the climb in first spot. The massive crowd who turned out here, remember it's 20 kilometres from the bottom of the climb, and to come up here you've had to come out very early this morning, and they've been sitting waiting for the riders to come through. There's Duran's name on the side. Well, Jackie Duran will be lucky to come over here within half an hour of the 2 leaders. We may find some riders outside the time limit. It's been a very tough day today in terms of the staying with the race for those riders who suffered in the rain yesterday. Rodriguez has abandoned. Sferrada, the sprint specialist, has abandoned. We've also lost Jimenez from the Benesto team. Calcaterra, who got the special award for the most aggressive rider, he's gone out today. Ballerini has gone as well today. And look at this man, Ullrich now, and Pantani. They're really ripping this race apart at the seam, and we've got a tremendous Tour de France on our hands, and it's not over yet because they're coming towards the top, and then they go down the other side in towards the finish. 44 k's to go.
Of course, there's you haven't got to kind of write a book about the Ullrich's face here, Dave. It says it all. Expression is there.
The crowd enjoying every moment of this atmosphere at the top of the climb, the Col de Madeleine. They're seeing a champion fighting back here. Last year's victory in the Tour de France started in yellow in the prologue time trial when he lost out to Chris Boorman, who then took over the yellow jersey. Ullrich got it back in the time trial, and then he lost it over. Yes, Steve, sorry, you want to say something?
You see Pantani getting a bit of paper there, putting up his jersey. Ullrich then getting his top. Like, I suppose it's protecting himself from getting a cold going down the hill. But it's not a cold day today. There's no real need for it. Like, it's dangerous as well as anything else. Like, look, that's David. No.
You don't like this, do you?
Yeah, David.
You don't like this, do you?
I don't know, Dave.
Well, do you think they've decided now we haven't done any damage to ourselves? We'll just take our jackets, take it easy, and let the rest catch up with him? Because I would love to see Pantani attack J.Ullrich on the descent, Ullrich on the descent, because he's not the world's greatest descender. 43 kilometres to go then. They're over the top of the climb. Ullrich put on his little waistcoat, zipped it up. Pantani just stuffed, what, was it newspaper or plastic up his front?
It's newspaper, yeah, which is ideal for today. It's not cold, it's not wet. So they would have had, of course, had a bit of the sweat on going up there, of course, but at the same time, paper is good enough for it.
Right, hold your breath on the way down, ladies and gentlemen, because Mr. Ullrich is not the world's greatest descender. And when I said this at Carrick-on-Shore in a meeting there, seminar, Mr. Sherwin said that he wasn't that. It was the equipment he was riding in the Tour de France last year, and he is a good descender. So we'll find out now who's the better of these two, as Pantani is now. Ullrich trying to go down on the descent. This is most unbelievable. Ullrich attacking on the descent. Kamikaze today, eh?
I don't know, David, but the descent is more dangerous there today, David, with those cars there, because when the cars are there, it's difficult actually to determine and to anticipate the actual contours of the road. So, but we all know Pantani is a very good descender, so Ullrich must be feeling very, very sure of himself today to be attacking Pantani on the descent.
Well, the top of the climb, we'll get a time check on this chase group as Piepoli leads them through, followed by Escartin in the green. And just bringing up the tail there is B.Riis, who really is on a good recovery program at the moment. He's looking quite strong now. The clock will just show him around about 2 minutes adrift. Piepoli on the front, zipping up his jersey. Then in the green for the Calmey Costa Blanca Eurosport team is Escartin. Just following on behind in the yellow is A.Merckx doing a great ride. Red, white and blue for the Rabobank ride of M.Boogerd. And then B.Julich in the red, white and blue with the red sleeves, and the time then, oh, they stopped it, I didn't see it. Piepoli, Escartin, Julich, Boogerd, Merckx and Riis in that order. Well, that's the way down, and these two are ripping their way down here. Wish them well on the way down. It's a very, very difficult descent. They've got a lead car going down to clear everybody out of the way and warn them. Coming down are the two riders here who are really battling for the honours in the Tour de France this year. And as Hulot, the man who's really set the race alight since we started out from Béziers this morning, is now clawing his way over the top. He's had a grand day in the saddle today as Hulot, but he's now lost contact with that chase group. You can see the pain and suffering on his face, having been out there for some 130 kilometres, as these two now start ripping down here. I think we're trying to go to an ad break any moment now, and we'll keep our eyes on these two riders going round, because this really is breathtaking stuff then. As first J.Ullrich drops into the corner, Pantani follows him on the way down. It's a tremendous descent to the bottom of the valley, something like about 27 or nearly 30 kilometres, all the way down they go.
They were parked on top of the descent, but now you see Ullrich here. He's basically riding, I say, to well instead of the second place if he can, now that he's left behind B.Julich, F.Escartin and the other guys. So but I think maybe Pantani will have to go past with him at some stage and give him a bit of a break, because it's in Pantani's interest as well to have B.Julich so far behind him, and also Escartin, which gives him a comfortable lead then, because B.Julich was 3:53 behind him, Escartin was 4:14. So by leaving Escartin behind him and B.Julich behind, some more minutes behind, leaves him like with 5 minutes and 56 seconds, which is almost 6 minutes ahead of Ullrich on GC tonight, if he can get to the finish like this.
Well, now they've slowed down a bit more to around about 65, 67 kilometres an hour, but that's still around about 40, 45 miles an hour. They come off the steepest part of the climb, and they'll maintain this down this descent, makes it difficult for that gap to come down. On the top of the climb then, B.Julich, Piepoli, Riis, Merckx, Robin, Boogerd, Escartin, not in that particular order, but that was the group that came through just some 2 minutes down on these two rows. Roland Meyer of the Cofidis team came over 3:32 down. And at 3 minutes and 57 seconds, Marcy, the polka dot jersey, King of the Mountains, led another small group over the top. But the interest now lies with these two riders here. And we're looking back at Laurent Jalabert coming up over the top, some 7.5 minutes down, Jalabert. And I also think Renero is in there with him too as well. And that's, I think, it's Balanovsky of the US Postal team on the right-hand side. So it's been another great sort-out today for these riders. And the gaps are opening up on the Tour de France. We were so close, there are only seconds covering the top riders in the early part of the race, but right now you could time them with a calendar.
I must say, Dave, Ullrich is making a good descent here.
He is. So
yeah. It's not that technical for the moment, but so far he's not doing too bad. Like, he's taking nice lines there.
Well, I take my hat off to him, because I remember that Catacon show when Jim O'Keefe had that seminar, and I said that I felt he was not that good on descent. He was a bit stiff when he went round, and Paul Sherman said, no, that was the equipment one day. He is a good descender, and he'll prove it, and he's proving it right now. This other group at the back, that's J.Ullrich, number 135, and B.Julich really is losing out of this little group. A.Merckx will be moving up on the overall classification. Most of these chaps will have some advantage out today. The one that's going to be struggling, Renero, was 5th this morning. He's dropped out. Marcy may keep his place. Look, LeBlanc is way down the pan right now, so we're going to find a bit of a change coming on.
I see Merckx Dave was out to put his hat on for the descent. He had no crash head on top of the descent, and he must have got off the car that time on top of the hill when he asked for his raincoat as well.
Well, the actual time check at the top of the climb was 2 minutes and 12 seconds, back to the first man over from the group, which is F.Escartin, followed by J.Ullrich and M.Merckx. They're still holding that roughly about the same on the way down. It's growing a little bit on the way down, as these two are really on the knife edge on the descent here. And let's keep your fingers crossed for them all the way. Thank goodness it's dry today.
Ullrich is now, they've actually second place overall on GC.
So he's moved up then, J.Ullrich in the second spot, and we're watching these two because this morning the gap between Pantani and Ullrich was 5 minutes 56 seconds, so Ullrich has done a wonderful job today. 33 kilometres to go to finish. Just
here, Dave, and race rated at B.Riis has just punctured.
Wow.
That's a bit sad because he's been riding a fabulous stage so far. Reasonably good tour for a guy of 34 years of age. So I just hope now he gets a fast wheel change and can get back on again quick enough.
Riis lying 19th this morning on classification, 12 minutes 56 seconds down. Not where he'd like to be, I think, but on the other hand, his experience is there to help Ullrich on the way through, and they've been riding together shoulder by shoulder right the way until we came to the climb of the Col de Madeleine, when Ullrich tried to deal the killer blow, raced away. Pantani got on his wheel, and Riis was distanced by some 2 minutes. But there again, if he gets a swift wheel change, Riis is a very fast descender, isn't he?
Yeah. Looking at the cornering here, Dave, of Ullrich here from the air, like his cornering is not still the best. There's still a lot of work to be done there, I think, but he's not anticipating enough the corners.
He does
he's going in too early.
Yes.
He starts turning in too early.
Yeah, because you've got to go swing and take all the right-hand gutter, don't you? Chop inside, yeah.
But he's turning in too early still, so he's of course improved an awful lot, but I think it's looking at him there now, he still has a bit more to improve on.
Well, let's see as he goes around this one as well. Swinging out, clips the green stuff. Not close as I think you would have done, Stephen, because your objective was to just, I suppose, leave a bit of grass on the pedal.
Well, no, they wouldn't be going that close, but
I'm exaggerating.
He can go a lot more fluid, a lot more in harmony with the man and machine. See him here, corner here. See, it's going in.
A bit stiff. His body's balanced, oddly.
Yeah, he's turning in too early, Dave.
Well, it's the revelation of the race so far, the way in which we've had Pantani take the yellow jersey over yesterday, and now an attack from Ullrich on the climb up of the Col de la Madeleine, and now on the way down he's prepared to still keep racing down there, not wait for the chasers to come up, because he wants to leap up into second spot and leave it with a man-to-man battle in the time trial, which will be on the Saturday of the Tour this year. So it could be setting the scene for yet another superb time trial. Normally the time trials at the back end of the Tour de France, with exception perhaps when Fignon lost to Le Mans, has been something of an anti-climax, but this could be again a tremendous situation. But I can't read the future because we're on the 16th stage of the race right now, and we haven't missed a beat all the way through. Sometimes we've had a stage when it's been, I won't say boring, but there's not been much going on. Not this year. In previous years you think, oh well, there's a group down the road, that's it, that's fine, and then it's been a stage finish, which has been nice to win an award, but nevertheless it wasn't anything to do with the overall consequence of the race. But this year, even the stages when we were getting little groups go away that went on GC very well placed, it all had an involvement in the race, because this whole speed of this race had been very fast indeed until we got to the mountain yesterday. The average speed so far of the Tour de France is 39.562 kilometers per hour. When you realise that 40 kilometers per hour is exactly 25 miles an hour, give you some idea of how they've been going. We've covered so far 2,847 kilometers of the race. That's about 1,800 miles. That's before today. And you see up there the clouds ahead and the mountains. The time that we've come over a climb nearly as big as that. They're now dropping down there.
Watch the wheel slipping here, Dave. See the back wheel slipping there?
Yep.
That's because he went into a bit of gravel there, Dave. I think he turned the pedals too early, I think, and his pedal hit the ground and made him slip. But also, Dave, J.Ullrich must not be on a great day today either, because normally he's a fabulous descender, and normally he'll be in the front of this group. But you can see here he's having difficulty in getting back onto the group. He's riding back some 50 yards back. So I think that he must not be on a great day, because when you're not on a great day, normally your reflexes are not as good as they should be, and you have a tendency more to stay back off the wheels and actually be very tight on the wheels.
Do you think he might have been a bit scared from yesterday when he missed that corner, when he had his anorak in his hand, his racing cape, and couldn't didn't brake and went straight into that van, fortunately without any problems. But would that sort of nerve you, even for a day like today when it's dry?
I wouldn't think so, Dave, because he got back on very quickly yesterday and he had no problem. So, and it's something which happens often, like, so, you know, it's, I wouldn't think that that's the problem at all now.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Look at that.
A fabulous descent, David. Unbelievably technical descent. Ullrich is impressive me now, Dave, I must say. Like he
used to go around like, you know, flatted, didn't he? He would get to, then he'd swing his wheel, then he'd flat, then he'd swing his wheel, then he'd flat. He's now flying a much better line, isn't he?
He is, yeah, he's flying. I think he's riding today, Dave, with much more aggressiveness as well, in that he's throwing the bike into the corner, whereas since the attack earlier on there on the climb, he's been showing an incredible amount of aggressiveness. We saw his face there going over the top of the climb. He looked very, 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 very kind of full of aggressiveness and full of anger, whereas I get the feeling here now today that he's riding down his descent now with the very same commitment, just with anger, and that's why he's getting down it so well, I think.
I bet you, Stephen, in Italy and in Germany right now, the television sets in the bars and hotels and homes, there'll be people sitting there with bated breath, well, those two nations watching this, with massive audience watching these two as they go down this mountainside on this stage 16 of the Tour.
And as this stage began to get down towards its conclusion, J.Ullrich and M.Pantani were now some 25 kilometres from the finish, with the chase group still over 2 minutes back. Now remember, this was the group with B.Julich in it, lying second overall at the start of play. They were still working hard to close the gap, but time was beginning to run out on them. Time for more commentary now from David Duffield and Stephen Roach.
Riders still coming over the top of the climb, nearly 20 minutes down, and Luc Leblanc is in this one here. So Luc has had a bad day today. He started out this morning 8th position, just 8 minutes and 1 second down, and now that'll mean he's 28 minutes down on the overall yellow jersey, and he's likely to drop then from 8th to probably around about 28th or even 30 something. So a bad day for Luc Leblanc.
25 kilometres to the finish, Dave.
And about, what, the last 18 is flat, I think?
Yeah. The last 15 and 16 is flat. Well, relatively flat, false flat descending. So they'll be coming, short to be coming now to the end of this descent. You can see the valley there down below is the small roads now. It's another few more twisty turns here. Very technical descent as well.
Well, the gap is still hovering around about 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 5 seconds back to the group which was chasing over the top of the climb, containing those chasers, J.Ullrich, Riis, Pipoli, Merckx, Robin, Boogerd and F.Escartin. Riis is punctured on the descent, but we had a shot just a moment ago whilst we were off air. Well, Riis coming back to them. He's come down very well indeed. It looks like he'll catch up with that chase group, which is now still some 2 minutes down on these two riders here. Both of them now taking part in the descent, taking it in turns to come through, but it's Ullrich who certainly on the climb ripped the thing to pieces and led for a long way down. He's still pedaling absolutely eyeballs out. They're just hanging about, are they? Eh?
No, they are not, Dave, but Ullrich here is defending, or he is riding himself in second place. He has second place at the moment, but he must, of course, maintain the pressure and finish a fair bit ahead of J.Ullrich and F.Escartin. And F.Escartin, of course, is in the group behind, and everybody in the group behind is actually riding at the moment to try and catch these two. So Ullrich, I think, is riding himself now to try and guarantee himself second place overall. And tomorrow is another day. Maybe he'll try again tomorrow to get at Pantani's lead.
So Pantani comes through, Ullrich looks back for the diminutive little Italian, not on a shelter for Ullrich behind Pantani. The little chap, I used to find the same thing myself on descents. I always found myself in a break and going on the flat with little tiny blokes, getting no shelter at all. But Pantani's prepared to have a go. You see now this chase group coming up to the 25 kilometre to go banner. The gap's still around about 2 minutes, and they're going down quite well at the moment, but a lot of riders still just going over the top of the climb, over 20 minutes down. I think we might find some outside the time limit today. Boogerd here on the back, just in front B.Julich. In the green pants is F.Escartin. The yellowish coloured jersey in the distance, A.Merckx, and the gap 2 minutes and 6 seconds at that point. Swinging round in that left-hander, Poli leads us in the group. We haven't got Riis back yet quite with his group, but a helicopter shot we had further back show that he was closing up on them, and he might well be with them before they get to the bottom of the climb. You see the road's been newly relaid, newly resurfaced, so they can use the bikes, they can swing round here. There's no bad edges to the road, no crumbled bits of grit to them to slide off into the green stuff. So let's wish them the best of luck on the way down. We don't like any crashes to destroy the rhythm of the race, but they take the risk all the way down here. We had 2 crashes coming off the top of the Col de Granier when both B.Boogerd and J.Ullrich of the Lotto team came down. Taffy now leading over the bus. See, that's right, I just put his on back to front. His jersey is
raincoat.
He's back here. So, sorry, you better talk. I just
his raincoat, yeah. Like it's like it is like 20-odd degrees, Dave. You know, so I don't really understand why they. Like we saw M.Pantani doing the right thing and putting a bit of paper up his jersey, and he got down and it was okay. But that was the right thing to do, I think. But like the amount of riders putting on raincoats up the top of the hill is. So first of all, it's risky. We saw yesterday B.Julich going straight on when he was trying to put his raincoat on, and like on a day like today, there's less need for it because there's no rain, there's not wet, apart from of course the sweat.
Well, thank goodness we don't have any wet on the course. We had the damage done on the stage in Luchon when the riders were just sliding off as they couldn't control their bikes on the slippy part of the course. I'm very happy now we've got nice dry conditions. It's a bit cloudy in Albertville, where the big crowd has been gathering all day long as they've been making preparations for the race to come in here today. And the situation is such that we have these 2 riders in the lead by some 2 minutes on that chase group, and they should, when they get down the bottom, if they're prepared to work together, stay away, which will enhance the position of both these 2 riders. And Pantani still signalling to Ullrich to go through. I don't know what that means that Pantani's a bit tired at the moment, Steve. He just didn't seem to be too keen to go through then, did he?
Well, like Ullrich is a big strong man, and he's much he can turn the big gears much faster on the descent, whereas Pantani will be more of a pedaler and he'll be pedaling the gears. As you look at the contrast between Ullrich and Pantani, you will see that Ullrich is always pedaling tours would be a lot less than Pantani.
Riis has got another puncture, I've just heard. So that's his 2nd puncture on the downhill. That's amazing, because these roads look quite good at the moment.
But I wonder what tires they're using there, because yesterday Ullrich got 2 punctures.
Well, goodness knows what they're on, but they've just had he's just had 2 punctures then, Riis has. Now, Ulo's got back on the descent. Glad to see that he's gone back. I think Jean-Cyril Robin has also made it, as Ulo here performing gymnastics to stretch his muscles, which must be tired. We're getting now to a point where they cover 170 kilometres of the race, and he's been out there for 140 kilometres of those.
Well, it's a good performance now by Hulu, and it'll give him a good place now on the stage and move him up again also in GC, because after being out there riding for 160k, riding the way he was riding, because you must not forget he rode a fabulous stage. He was riding on the front on all the climbs, and to be totally left behind going over the top to Madeleine would have been very bad for him. So at least now he's getting some compensation for his ride, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if the jury of the most aggressive rider award gave him the award today.
And so 2 more riders have come in now to get the group up in size, which mean that although 2:14 down, they can start working together once they're down in the flat with those final 18 kilometres to go. Nearly at the bottom of the descent, with Pantani now has taken over. J.Ullrich cuts it inside it, so Ullrich and Pantani working hard here, heading in towards the Olympic town of Albertville. It's in 1992 that the Olympics was held here, and there's a lovely futuristic ice stadium which we might see when the cameras go around and look into the town centre. It's at the junction of 2 rivers, the Arly and Isar, come down into the Albertville as these 2 riders here. I know he went all over the place, didn't he? Well, it must be getting a bit tired now, but I don't know.
Fun.
And we're back with Messrs Ullrich and Pantani, the 2 leaders in this crucial stage in the Alps from Vizille to Albertville. We've now picked it up with only 5 kilometres to go to the finish. The J.Ullrich group was still about 2 minutes behind them. Ullrich and Pantani then looked certain to stay clear to the finish, but who would win this 16th stage? We'll find out with David and Stephen.
B.Julich in the chase group now, trying to cut that deficit. 2 minutes 12 seconds, the last time gap we got. B.Julich then would just be trying to stop this man in the team telecom colours with number 1 on his back. 2:07 it is now as they're coming back at it. So we're seeing an interesting race here to see who A can win the stage today. The yellow jersey will still stay on the shoulders of Pantani. This man here on your screen wearing number 1, the ex-yellow jersey holder from last year's race, desperately trying to move up ahead of B.Julich. 2 minutes and 3 seconds separating on general classification, and he's still pressing on manfully, doing most of the work on the run in towards the finish, but we're now coming up, I suppose, to about 5 kilometres to go. Knife edge stuff.
Definitely, but Ullrich is doing a lot of the work here. People might think that, well, Pantani is not riding enough, but this is Ullrich's territory now. This is why on the flat roads, Ullrich puts 3 minutes into Pantani in a 50-kilometre time trial, because Ullrich can turn that 53, 54, 11 along much faster than the small, thin legs of Pantani can.
And that's the difference when it comes to time trialing, isn't it?
That's it as well, Dave. And also there's a bit of a headwind there, so of course, with the headwind, the more strength you have, the more pure power, pure energy you have, you're better off.
And Pantani moving through on the front is the last doing a little bit. He's doing what he can, but one has to sort of feel for him. He'd like, I think, to do a bit to help Ullrich, who's helped him push a lot more gap, because not only is Ullrich moving up into second spot or near second spot, what happened with Pantani now, he's moving away from B.Julich. B.Julich 3:53 this morning, so B.Julich will be something like 5:50 something. F.Escartin 4:14 this morning, could now be 6 something. So Pantani, whilst we're talking about what's going between these two, he's also knocking another couple of minutes out of everybody else, isn't he?
Oh yes, making himself more comfortable for tomorrow and with the roller coaster roads tomorrow.
2:07 the gap then inside the final 5 kilometres for the chase group, as Pantani still rolling on here, happy to go with J.Ullrich, because it's going to make him even more ahead of the rest of the field, and particularly distancing himself from people like Fernando F.Escartin, who's a great mountain climber, and therefore making sure that he gets closer to Paris. The closer he gets, the more chance he has of riding in a yellow. So these are the two people, still it's all to play for between now and Paris, and all it looks back to Pantani, who rolls through. He can't go through any faster, can he?
No, but that was always the same. When I used to ride with Pantani back in the Carrera team in 91, 92, 93, like he was always, they were saying yesterday in our coverage of this yesterday's stage, like Pantani would be in the back of the group, he'd be riding along with 150 riders, he'd back there, 150 riders. Start of the hills, group goes down to 55 riders, Pantani is riding back in the final 5. The group then goes down to 10 riders, Pantani is still, and he'd always say, oh, I'm flat out, I'm flat out, I'm flat out. But he just cannot come through. He's very light, and hasn't got the power to push the big gears around on the flat when it comes down to it. In team time trials, it wouldn't even think about asking Pantani to come through, because he'd only slow you down.
Well, that's it then. The race is on for the first and second place, or second place mainly, because Pantani will keep the yellow jersey. An interesting letter from Doris Warren faxed through to me at the hotel last night from St Anne's-on-Sea in Lancashire. The gap is now 2 minutes and 3 seconds, so it's a knife-edge job for J.Ullrich and his second spot. And she asked me, she says she's fallen in love with the lions presented at the end of each stage. She'd like one because it's her birthday about now, and I said, well, no, you can't get them that easy. And she asked me questions about when they were first presented. As they go on now in toward the finish of the stage, they're well inside the final few kilometres now. Pantani on the front and Ullrich on the back here. Pantani going to collect himself another line. And I was asked then by Doris Warren, what's the history behind presenting the Lions? Of course, it's to do with the Credit Lyonnais, because the Lions, Lyonnais, they've been sponsor of the yellow jersey. And she said, when was it first presented? And I said, I didn't know, but I had to find out, because it just got to when Credit Lyonnais came into the the sponsorship. So now the gap then means that I think that J.Ullrich will not move into the second spot. He could be third overall. Will he get the stage victory? He'll certainly get the flowers of victory. Pantani may be happy to just take his little line yet again. And these lines, by the way, Stephen, I mean, can you actually buy them? Some people want these things, no?
No, I don't think so, no. They're fairly kind of They kept in for the race stage winner only.
Did you get him? Were they still
I had a
responsible?
few, yeah, I had a few. I had a big one I had.
So
which
that's
has
going
been auctioned recently.
So that's gone back then. The team in 1978 had his
87, Dave.
87 had his lines. As now Pantani goes through the front. They're in the final kilometre now. Who's going to get the bouquet of victory? Of the two then, as Pantani starts to wind it up, he is not the best sprinter. Ullrich is on the wheel. Pantani looking back now at the moment. The gap 158 back to B.Julich, who could just keep his second place overall by Nats Whisker. But we must say chapeau to Ullrich. He's really set the race alight today by attacking on the Col de Madeleine, and Pantani went with him, but he's not the great road rider on the flat and the big windmill rider as Ullrich has taken him down the climb and into the finish now. Last year's winner of the Tour de France, the man who finished second the year before, looks back at Pantani now. The man in yellow was also the winner of the Tour of Italy in the pink. Not best known as a sprinter then, as he starts to go to the front, and Ullrich grits his teeth, and he's in the best spot now with Pantani coming on the front now. Pantani has to ride flat out. Can he get the victory as Ullrich starts to come up on the outside? Pantani's still going, but the strength of Ullrich will surely carry him through. Pantani can't twiddle any faster, and the power then from Ullrich goes to the line, and I think he just gets it.
Yeah.
A road stage victory for Ullrich, and he nearly died on the line. Pantani was just coming at him then, and so that for Ullrich gives him a road stage victory. He's already taken the time trial, so he gets yet another stage under his belt, but this one not a time trial, this is a road stage victory, and he's not yet in yellow, but he's certainly closed the gap down now, moving up I think into third spot on GC.
It was a very, very close sprint, Dave.
They were dying, weren't they? Both of them, actually.
Yeah, they were definitely. Yeah. There wasn't very much in it anyway, but I'll even say Pantani looked even fresh, Dave.
I thought both of them coming down there, they were on the last knockings, weren't they? You know, the tank was empty by the time they hit the line. Well, my tank's empty. I'm going to have a drink. Excuse me, you keep chatting, Stephen.
Yeah, they're consulting the photo finish now again to see who actually has won.
Well, you're listening in on the photo finish, Stephen, and any interviews coming up, because I know what's going to happen now. They'll be shoving microphones up the nose of the poor rider, and Stephen can't eavesdrop on the conversation, twiddling the little buttons here, but at the time they're 106.
Ullrich has it, yeah.
Oh, Ullrich has got it then.
Confirmation, yeah.
So confirmation then coming up now. On the front then, Raniero. Just behind the blue crash hat is B.Julich. The big fellow with the yellow crash hat, A.Merckx. And looking for the third spot here. They should wind this one up, and I wouldn't be surprised if A.Merckx doesn't come through and have a go at this one. Strong finisher that he could be then, the big tall Belgian, but Michael Boogerd at the far side for Belgium. And on the right hand side, F.Escartin starts to unleash the sprint, and Julich begins to cut Merckx in towards the barrier. So Merckx is boxed now as F.Escartin starts to go. This is a turn up for the books. F.Escartin, I'd never say would have been a sprinter, and he looks like he might well take third spot on the line. F.Escartin still from B.Julich. Julich comes off his line, looks over his shoulder, nonchalantly takes the third spot just ahead of F.Escartin, and behind him was A.Merckx. Great sprint. Well, looking again from the top shot here, as Pantani would not give up without a fight. Got out the saddle, punched on the pedals, and alongside him, Ullrich threw his bike at the line and probably got it by about half a wheel. Ullrich then the winner in Bayerville, and Pantani second, but still in yellow. The determination there, Stephen, is written all over the faces, eh?
Exactly, I just heard coming in the radio there that Ullrich has the third place by 6 seconds over F.Escartin.
Yeah, because F.Escartin 4:14 this morning, J.Ullrich 5:56.
Look how close that was.
Phew. I said about half a wheel, but it wasn't. It was about the thickness of a tyre, wasn't it? There we are, yes, just over a wheel and a bit. So that's a success for Ullrich.
Well, that was indeed a gripping finale to this great 1-2 over the mountain of the Col de la Madeleine on this, the 16th stage of the 1998 Tour de France. From Vizille to Albertville, they made this one their own, didn't they, and staged a grandstand finish. It looked at one stage, for my money, as if Marco Pantani was going to pull this one off, but somehow Ullrich just forced his bike in front, and afterwards he told us how he was feeling after his second stage win of this tour. He said, well, I was feeling quite confident today, but I also felt quite tired too. It was a stage where I thought only Marco Pantani could win something, but I tried, the weather was good, and my legs turned out to be fine. It was a long stage, but I did it in the end. So I've proved that despite yesterday, I am in good shape. With Pantani, I did 80% of the work, but I gave him the chance to defend his yellow jersey. Our code of honor dictated that I deserved the victory today. Well, there we are. That's interesting words from Ullrich. He doesn't sound at all downhearted after yesterday's day. He came back with a big bang today, didn't he? And clinched a very, very good road stage win. So, a defiant victory, I think it's best to say, for J.Ullrich after his disastrous day at Les Deux Alpes, and I'm sure that'll have boosted his morale enormously, even though he still has a huge job to do to win the second Tour de France. And there's the official result of stage 16. Ullrich snatching a 5th stage victory in his short tour career, with M.Pantani gaining a very significant 1 minute 49 on that chase group containing all their chief